3, 2, 1.
And now, you're tuned into the Navarro-Miller Report, featuring the hottest in news, entertainment, sports, and all those topics for the mainstream audience. The Navarro-Miller Report.
Examine your reality.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Navarro-Miller Report. I'm your host, Dave Navarro.
I'm Jeremy Miller.
And we have special guest, co-host, comedian Gary Robinson is here with us. Gary, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, thanks very much for having me on. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's great to see you guys.
Great to see you too, my friend.
So you'd like to think it's going to be fun, but you never know.
We'll see.
With us, it's all over the place. So it's kind of crazy, especially with this guy right here.
What can I say? I got no filter and a big mouth. What do you want from me?
That is a fact of life right there, my friend. Facts of life. Anyways, we have a great show for you today. We have a couple of things to chat about, including in entertainment news. Looks like Madonna is a control freak, according to her daughter, Lourdes Leon. She actually had an interview recently where she goes ahead and blasts her own mother in regards to being too much of a control freak for her. And she goes on to say, quote, "We don't get any handouts in my family. Obviously, I grew up with extreme privilege. There's no denying that. But I think my mom saw all these other kids of famous people, and she was like, my kids are not going to be like this. Also, I feel like if your parents pay if your parents pay for things, then it gives them leverage over you. My mom is such a control freak, and she has controlled me my whole life. I needed to be completely independent from her as soon as I graduated high school." So, I mean, she's 25 now. She's got her modeling career going for her. She has massive respect for her mother and everything she does. However, she seems that, right after high school, she cut the cord immediately and she was like, bye. She left really quickly. I mean, that's...
Well, can I say... Don't most of us feel that way when we get out of high school? I mean, just truthfully. I mean, didn't most of us feel that our parents were too controlling by the time we got out of high school? I mean, that's kind of the age that you are trying to spread your wings and get away and start controlling your own life. So I'm not saying Madonna isn't like that, but I think all kids at that age are feeling that way to a degree.
Well, I would just like to say I would like for Madonna to adopt me now that there's an opening. So, I mean, I'm pretty excited about this. So she's out, I'm in.
There.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping Brad Pitt would maybe adopt me too. But I'm happy with Madonna too. I'd be happy to live that lifestyle.
I mean, you could be the next material guy.
Boy.
The material boy. There you go. I mean, that's all there is to it. But I mean, it's crazy because, I mean, Jeremy, you are right about that. I mean, when you get to a certain point out of a certain age, you want to be independent. But the ironic thing of this whole thing is that Lourdes actually she admits at the end of the interview that she didn't get her mother's work ethic, because her mother, like Madonna's got an incredible work ethic. She commended her mother on that. She didn't get that. But she did get the control thing from her mother, so she's also a control freak as well. Irony of ironies.
Well, I've had many friends and people close to me who perhaps grew up that way, and yes, they do tend to have some of those tendencies themselves. I'm not going to name names; I'll get in trouble, but not a bit. I'll be sleeping on the couch.
By the way, the control freak thing, you never outgrow it, because my mom is still a control freak. Like, my mom still tells me what to do if she can. I don't have to listen, but we really don't outgrow that.
He's like, I don't have to listen to you. I'm grown up now. Leave me alone, Mom. Now, it's crazy because for the longest time, I also felt that my parents were controlling me for the longest time. But, when you grow up and you get older, you start to learn that, they've lived a long life. Like my dad, he's a major control freak. I mean, I just got done, because my dad was a mechanic and he was a truck driver. Jeremy, you know this. And so he tends to, when I have to change something from my car, because I do my own mechanical work, and it's all thanks to my dad. My dad teaches me taught me a lot about how to do mechanics. So we just recently changed the transmission oil filter of the car. And while I was under there, he's like, my father, unfortunately, he's half paralyzed due to a stroke that he suffered back in 2007. But yet he's still's like, you know what? Help me off from this wheelchair. I want to get under there. I want to see what you're doing. I'm like, Dad, you're teaching me from far. Stay from far. Don't come here to what I'm trying to do. But he still gets under there. And he goes underneath and he looks and he's like, okay, did you do this? I was like, yes. Did you do that? Yes. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like you did it right. I'm like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me here?
Parents never change.
Oh Lord. And then he goes and messes stuff up under there that I've already done. I was like, Dad, I just put that down there. What are you doing? You're killing me here. It just never ends. It never ends.
So I guess we can confirm that Lourdes is having growing pains.
There's
gonna be a lot of that, guys.
He'll be here for the next hour, ladies and gentlemen.
That was good. That was a good one. But
please tip your wait staff.
That is the truth, though. I mean, that's what it really is. I mean, we all go through this. And I mean, I'm 45, and believe me, I've looked back and I know I didn't have a clue what I was talking about at that age. You know, I was very lucky to have the guidance I had from my parents. In my case in particular, they were really nowhere near as overbearing as I like to make them out in my head at that time.
Yeah.
That's the truth. I mean, Dave knows my mother, my father. You know, he's met them. He knows that they are very chill and very cool people. But as far as I was concerned, no, they're trying to run everything, and you know.
At the time, we all think that, I guess. Like
that's why I think it's a very normal rite of passage, probably.
And
by the way, you look great for 44. I'm not saying this pandemic's been tough on me, but I'm 25 years old. So it's great to be on here.
Wow, that's tough. That's tough.
That's a hard one. You've had a hard year and a half.
Been tough, I'll tell you.
Oh my God, this is why I love having comedians on the show for this reason. They make me feel a lot better being here with you, Jeremy. So
trust me, it goes both ways.
Nice. Well, in other news, I mean, good luck to Lourdes on that, you know, and hopefully her mother Madonna does not slam her later on for saying what she said to the media.
Yeah, her new song will be "Mama Don't Preach."
Right? No kidding. Exactly. That's very true. Gary, I think you're getting a lot of material right now just off of the podcast right now. He's like, comedians never sleep. What are you talking about? We're always on board over and over again. So, well, speaking of comedians, actually, this is something right up your alley, Gary. Basically, you know, we also know about what's going on with Dave Chappelle and the whole Netflix thing and how the cancel culture wanted to cancel him. Well, comedian Hannah Gadsby slams Ted Sarandos. Basically, Ted went on and said, quote, adults can watch assault and abuse or enjoy shocking stand-up comedy without it causing them to harm others. And he went on to say, we are working hard to ensure marginalized communities aren't defined by a single story. So we have sex education, Orange is the New Black, Control Z, Hannah Gadsby, and Dave Chappelle all on Netflix. Key to this is increasing diversity on the content itself. Now, Hannah did not like this too much. She didn't like her name being mentioned. So she went ahead and had a couple things. She said, to say to Ted, she said, hey, Ted Sarandos, just a quick note to let you know that I would prefer if you didn't drag my name into your mess. Now, I have to deal with even more of the hate and anger that Dave Chappelle's fans like to unleash on me every time Dave gets $20 million to process his emotionally stunted partial word view. You didn't pay me nearly enough to deal with the real world consequences of the hate speech dog whistling you refuse to acknowledge. Ted, F you and your amoral algorithm cult. I do shit with more backbone than you. That's just a joke. I definitely didn't cross a line because there isn't one. Now, those are shots being fired, if you ask me. So I mean, Gary, the floor is yours on this one because you're a comedian. I mean, and it seems that you would have something to say about this as well.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, you have to give comedians a very wide berth because a lot of what we do is shock, it's surprise. And so Dave Chappelle, I saw that special. I mean, he was actually taking the side of somebody who was of a trans person, and who talking about a good friend of his who was trans. So, but he does take digs at people. That's just the nature of comedy. We insult people. There's comics that all they do is insult people. Insult comics. I used to do that. There's some of us that shock people. He's kind of a shock comic in some ways, a storyteller, but you just have to give comics a little wider berth than most other people, because they're not doing things out of spite or anger. Typically, they're doing stuff a lot of times to, first of all, create laughter, but also create dialogue. So I don't know a lot about Hannah Gadsby, to be honest, but Dave Chappelle is one of the greatest comedians in history, and you got to give him a little leeway on some stuff, even though you might not like it. But he's bringing attention to certain things, and that can create conversation, which it's been doing around the country. So that can be a good thing, even though I don't like everything he said. But we have to respect that it's an art form, I think.
I mean, comics are notorious for creating controversy in everything they say. I mean, Gary, I'm sure you've had your moments of controversy as well. I mean, from what I understand, something having to do with the BLM movement, right?
Well, that was more about a song I put out, but I've probably created more controversy with my new song "Trump the Traitor" that has a music video on YouTube. so I've probably made a lot of enemies. But frankly, my new opening bit is about Caitlyn Jenner. So I say, hey, let's give up for Caitlyn Jenner running for governor. That girl's got balls.
Oh God, that's a good one.
Like that girl could really come from behind. I thought she could win. So anyway, the point is that look, I'm not doing it as a mean-spirited thing on Caitlyn, although I'm not a big fan of hers, but it's to make you laugh, which you just did, because it's a shocking thing to say. So a lot of what comedians do is to try to surprise people and take people a little off kilter. Sometimes create tension in a room or even online, like here. And then to bring up topics that not everybody's going to talk about, but or wants to talk about.
I'm sure you've heard the story about this, Gary. Years ago, Lenny Bruce, the great instigator, the great shit stirrer that he was, went to a club in Harlem and said the N-word for 5 straight minutes. That was his act, to create controversy and discussion. And in his mind, he explained it in that if we take away the power of this word, then a young black girl who gets called this 20 years from now doesn't have to cry and feel like she's nothing. But at the time, can you imagine the shock? We're talking about 1960 whatever, and he's in Harlem in an all-black club using the N-word for 5 straight minutes.
Yeah. That's more even, I put that in the realm of performance art, even more than stand-up comedy. Mm-hmm. And even now, that the amazing thing about that now is that if I said the N-word, I would be canceled from probably every comedy club here, deservedly so, because it's that's a very controversial word, along with other words that kind of come in and out of the lexicon of what's controversial. And but the line moves. The line is constantly moving every few years, depending. It's like they say the pendulum swings, things get liberal and conservative. So we just kind of have to ride that line, and sometimes we'll do something 10 years ago that might cross that line again. So that would, like what Lenny Bruce did back then, would now cross the line. He would be canceled right now. So that's the amazing thing about comedy is it's constantly moving. It's not a stagnant thing where, oh, that was a funny joke back then and it might not be funny in 20 years. Like what I just said about Caitlyn could be a very offensive thing in a few years, and maybe I'll get canceled. You never know. But comedians, we can't really think along those lines. We have to think of how we're going to create tension, how we're going to create humor, how we're going to make people laugh, and not worry about the future and what's going to happen. So it evolves.
Yeah, and I have to agree with that as well. Look at going back to a lot of the Hughes movies, Breakfast Club, Pretty in Pink. All those movies had so much controversial comedy in it that today they'd be like, oh my God, that is hugely offensive.
Are you kidding? 16 Candles, you could not get made today. You could not get that film made. It's a film that is loosely set around date rape.
Pretty much.
That's really the base concept of this film. And it's a comedy. And you couldn't get most of those films made in today's culture.
Yeah, and of course the whole racist thing, with the Asian dude.
Yeah. And if you want to go further back, look at Blazing Saddles.
Yeah,
that's a movie.
And that's a classic.
Yeah, it's a classic movie. It's constantly played, and it's an amazingly brilliant comedy. But if you tried to make that today, they would probably cancel you before you put it out.
Absolutely, but as we know, a film that pushed boundaries for all the right reasons and took comedy further than it had gone socially, probably ever at that point.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, but it seems that again, Hannah, she just didn't like the fact that Ted put her name in that whole situation. She's like, no, don't even think about putting me in this whole thing, trying to be political, because that was the whole purpose of putting her name on there, is to be more political, be politically correct, be like, oh no, we're okay, we're doing this correctly, you guys don't complain when this and that person says this and that. But Hannah was like, no, thanks. We're good. We're good on
yes, that's right. I mean, none of us like anybody speaking for us. I mean,
exactly. And nobody wants to be thrown into being an activist either. Like, there's certain people who are putting themselves out there with what they do or say, but other people don't want to be dragged into it sometimes. They want to sit on the sidelines and maybe chip in when they feel like it. So...
Well, I mean, at this point, it seems that the cancel culture tried to cancel Dave Chappelle's show. That didn't happen. Hannah continues on with her specials as well. So everybody just keeps on moving forward. I mean, this whole cancel culture is taking on a life of its own. Jeremy, you had your own opinions about the cancel culture, didn't you?
Because I don't believe it exists exactly. As I've said, everybody they've canceled still has a career, is still earning money, and is still doing exactly what they were doing before. No one's actually been canceled, first of all. And second of all, it's not some political movement that's doing it. It's people exercising their dollar power. If they don't want to buy it, they don't want to watch it, and they don't want to hear about it, if there's enough of them, then guess what? The advertisers are going to put pressure. That's how commerce works. It's not cancel culture to me. I mean, I get the whole point. I get what's going, but it's not some big government conspiracy trying to cancel everybody. It's people exercising their belief of what they want to buy, what they want to invest in, what they want to see. Now, Dave has enough supporters that, people tried to say, no, don't watch this, don't do this. And enough people rose up, and they're not going to be able to pressure the sponsors or anybody else to mess with him. But I just see it a different way. I see when enough people come together and they don't want to hear it, that's commerce, that's capitalism. It's no different than a product you don't like, or that's just how it is to me.
So in other words, money talks, bullshit walks.
Yeah, basically.
That's pretty much what it all boils down to. So, I don't know. Well, I mean, Happy Hannah stood up for herself on that one too. She was like, no, don't drag me on this. So, but yeah. In other entertainment, well, actually, this is more like entertainment / political news. Former President Bill Clinton was hospitalized this morning, actually. He had a bloodstream infection. He's currently at the hospital at UC Irvine. According to TMZ.com, it says Clinton's docs say 42 was admitted to UC Irvine Medical Center Tuesday and is being closely monitored. The infection reportedly started as a UTI, but became much more serious once it got into his bloodstream. He's currently in the intensive care unit. You guys need to stop.
Can
okay? You guys need to stop.
I've always wanted to start a conspiracy theory. Come on, let's be real. He's got an STD, you guys. Okay.
There we go. Come on.
Oh my God.
How can you not hear that?
As I'm reading that, I'm like, oh my God.
You guys, wear rubbers, okay? Everybody protect yourself. There's enough viruses going around.
As I'm reading that, I'm thinking, oh, what's going through their heads right now? Oh, what's going through their heads right now?
Maybe it's not the first infection he's had. I mean, come on.
I doubt it'll be the last. The guy's like in his 70s. Oh my God.
Thank God for Viagra, right?
Oh
Tell me about it.
The question is, I wonder what Hillary's thinking right about now. She's like, erase the emails, delete the emails.
What goes around comes around.
We're not too worried that she won't get
it. We got some people actually interacting. Dusty's actually saying STD for sure. Good call.
See, it's gonna take hold. It's gonna spread like wildfire. No pun intended.
I was about to say, I think it's already spread.
This is a socially transmitted disease now.
Oh my
Lord
God.
Almighty.
I can't. I mean, it looks like he's doing fine. I thought it was
Good.
It was all
I
over
hope
the
he's
news.
doing well.
I mean, it was all over the news. They're monitoring it very closely. Apparently, I don't want to know what they're monitoring very closely.
He requested. He's got some special nurses he wanted. So.
This is just too. I mean, you can't make this up. You really can't make this up. This is one of those things where it's like I'm reading it, I'm like, really? It was a pretty much UTI. Are you freaking kidding me right now? Dusty also commented, said Hillary can rest easy. She doesn't have it because I doubt he bangs her. Wow.
Wow, Dusty. Okay.
Wow, Dusty, you're savage, buddy. Come on now. I'm not even. I can't. Wow, that's savage. Anyways, I mean, apparently it seems like again he's doing fine, so that's good news. But I'm still curious to know, why is it that damn near every single news media was all over this? Again, no pun intended.
First of all,
over the story.
First, let me say that generally speaking, they're all over any former president, living or not, who gets hospitalized or has any big illness. I mean, every single president, they jump on that immediately. But I mean, what news organization is not going to want to report on the beautiful comedy that is this story? And
oh my god!
I mean, I'm glad he's doing okay, but it lends itself to so many jokes. I was trying to be nice. I really didn't want to just laugh as you're talking about a poor guy in the hospital, but
seriously,
oh man, it was too perfect.
I was reading this and I was like, please don't laugh. Please don't laugh. Please don't laugh. And then I saw people, I was like, there it is. Never mind. So much for that. I mean, well, it goes on to say, Dr. Alpesh Amin from UC Irvine and Clinton's personal doctor, Dr. Lisa Bardak, say the former prez is currently receiving antibiotics and fluids through an IV.
Oh, man.
Oh, this has gone off the rails.
Oh, Lord.
We just said it simultaneously.
Oh, my God. Oh, Lord. Michelle says, I heard he's watching this podcast. Thank you, Bill, for watching. We appreciate your support.
Appreciate it.
Like, he'll be up and sexually active again soon. So
He'll be up.
I have no doubt.
Yeah.
Let's hope for his sake he's not. Otherwise, he'll be back in the hospital if he's up again.
Oh, man.
Anyways, I can't. Funds are there. Their funds are there. Anyways, moving forward, actually, this is going to be a little bit more up your alley, Jeremy. In sports news, we have John Gruden loses his job, and Dan Snyder continues to evade. So apparently, Dan Snyder, they're asking for his head next, because of the whole scandal that's going on with Washington football team, and the way Dan Snyder is evading accountability for everything that's happened is that he decided to go and retire number 21's jersey that was worn by Sean Taylor, who we all know Sean Taylor was murdered actually during a home invasion. He was killed back in 2007 during a home invasion. So his number will be retired. That was an announcement that was made by the Washington football team. Now people are throwing Dan Snyder they're just wanting his head, saying that this is the worst timing that you could actually say that. You're evading what's going on right now with the issue with the Washington football team, and you decided to suddenly retire number 21's jersey in the middle of this controversy. I mean, Jeremy, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's a joke, truthfully. To retire Sean's number at this time, a guy who is incredibly respected by that community, by his team, by his former teammates, just to try and ingratiate himself during all of this is pretty shitty. When you talk about the things he said, and again, this is one of those things where things change. Is it okay what he said? No, it's not. Has he changed his opinions, and does he know that that was wrong? You know, had he actually apologized and really came forward heartfelt about it, maybe I could believe that. But he was coaching a team that has the only actively, openly gay player on it, Carl Nassib.
Mm-hmm.
And he made all these anti-homophobic statements, all this fairy shouldn't have been playing, and done it.
Wow.
How are you going to go into a locker room where you are coaching an openly gay player and have any respect? And you are talking about a teammate. These are football players who 20 years ago people said would never accept a gay player. And they go out on the field and bleed and fight and battle with this guy every single day. How are you going to go in there and then turn around and try and lead that locker room?
That and the fact of the matter that you have football players that in the past have said, like, there's a lot of closeted football players that never came out for this exact reason. They were afraid to. And this football player came out, risked it all, just because he's like, okay, it's I believe it's a new era, and yet this happens. I mean, he actually had to take some time off, he said, because after this whole thing, because he heard about the homophobic remarks that John Gruden made in the email, the racial slurs, everything. I mean, John Gruden just went off. But here's the tough part. Now, I've spoken to many Raider fans, and many Raider fans, they are upset that John Gruden resigned. And they're saying this as a Raider fan. They're saying this. I'm not a Raider fan. God, shoot me if I ever was. No offense to Raider fans. I'm just not a fan. Never was, never will be. But here's the thing is that they're saying, and a lot of the people that I've spoken to are Latinos. And they're like, as a Latino, we get talked about this all the time. You know, they need to get over that and blah, blah, blah. You know, I mean, we're winning. We're finally winning. And that's what they care about. They mainly care about winning. They don't care about the remarks that John Gruden said. They care more about their team winning. And granted, it is, I always say this, I'm like, Raiders have the worst luck in the league. I mean, first they had a terrible owner that made terrible decisions. He died, so they thought, okay, ding dong, the witch is dead type of thing. We're finally going to have a football team that works. Then they were in Oakland where they weren't doing too well. They moved to Vegas. Finally, they're doing well. They're 3-1. They're doing fantastic. And then coincidentally, this happens. I mean, talk about being born under the worst star in the world. And a lot of them are saying this is a conspiracy. This is the NFL screwing with us yet again. I mean, there's a lot of Raider fans that believe this is a conspiracy against the Raiders.
Oh, good.
I mean, that's what they're saying. So it's, I don't know. It's just really bad luck that they have. And I mean, at this point, who knows what's going to happen with the Raiders and the coaching staff? Who knows? I don't have no idea. No clue.
Well, like you said, I mean, sports fans in general have a wonderful ability to create a blind spot for the people they like and the people that are helping their team win. But I would say that Raiders fans have had a penchant for this a lot longer. I mean, we're talking about the team whose motto was just win, baby. They asked, do you cheat? They said, hell yeah, just win. I mean, this was a team of cheaters and, people who wanted to break the rules, and the fans celebrated that. So why would we be shocked? I mean, that's been the Raider philosophy since 1970.
Yeah, and I mean, that's just the way it's going to go. Derek went ahead and also commented. He says, he actually disagrees. He says, no, the Browns have the worst luck. No comparison. Well, they were called the Browns, for God's sake, Derek. What do you expect? They're basically, they're the color of what comes out of us. Whenever I hear the word the Browns, first thing I think is a freaking piece of turd or something that comes out of a person. Sometimes it's brown. Sometimes, never mind. I'm not going to go there.
Speaking of cheaters, by the way, like my girlfriend's ex-boyfriend looks identical to Tom Brady, which is coincidental because I look just like a deflated ball.
Hopefully he didn't throw you around.
Not yet. I think we could win together, maybe. I don't know.
There you go.
Were you the controversial deflated ball?
Yeah.
Dusty also said, what about the Lions? Dusty, I'm sorry, but what about the Lions? You just asked the magic question. What about?
I don't know if that's bad luck or just bad ownership all the way around, bad management.
That's just a bad everything all around, like you said, Jeremy. I mean, come on, they live in Detroit. They're lucky they haven't gotten shot yet. No offense to people from Detroit.
Eminem's gonna kick your ass.
I know, right? Well, I'm a Packer fan. We don't like Detroit, okay? I'm a Packer fan through and through. We're rivals, so there you go. Dustin continues and said, worst luck ever is the Lions. Well, It is what it is. I mean, you guys had a good quarterback. You guys screwed it up. So what do you want? What do you want me to say? I'm not gonna. Don't cry for me. Don't cry for me, Argentina. Anyways, in other sports news, well, buddy, boys in blue are back.
Yes, they are. 3 years in a row, and we're going to play Atlanta again.
Oh man, that's gonna be one hell of a game right there. And it's funny, you called it. You were like, you know what? I'm not worried about Arizona. No, I'm sorry. You were worried about Arizona. I'm not worried about the Giants. The Giants, though, started off strong in the series. They really started off strong.
Well, as I said, that was the reason I wasn't terribly afraid of them, was because I believed our pitchers would be stronger. What I wasn't prepared for was Logan Webb, their young stud pitcher who's really broken out this year, looking like Sandy Koufax or Mariano Rivera. I mean, the guy had a slider that was just evil. And, I mean, he pitched 2 games, 14 innings, 1 hit, 1 run. I mean, that's pretty damn impressive. So I wasn't expecting that. He kept those 2 games really, really close. The 2 games the Dodgers won, of course, we basically blew them out, before that last game. So it was our offense really getting to their arms. But, man, that kid Logan Webb was amazing. And for once, I will tip my hat to the Giants. You guys gave us a run all year long. And too bad it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, just too bad. Too bad indeed.
I'm brokenhearted for you.
You guys sound very sincere.
You know what I would love to see, though? I would love to see the rematch. Houston.
Oh, I want the rematch.
Oh, I want to see that rematch so badly, and I want the Dodgers to destroy them.
Well, if we're going to move, we had the previous sports was about, cheating. So how about we talk about the Astros? That would be an awesome World Series rematch.
Yep, very true, very true. And I know you have a lot of your fans, Jeremy, are a lot of Astros fan. And they're assholes, Astros. Sorry, it keeps coming out that way. Excuse my language. I try to say that fast and it just comes out assholes. I mean Astros. Right? Anyways.
Yeah, you got it. Either way, they know what you mean.
Either way. Anyways, so yeah, at this point, I really want them to meet each other. But the Braves, that's going to be a tough team. No doubt about it.
The Braves have given us a run for our money every year the last couple of years. Last year we had to come back from 3-1. Everybody thought the Dodgers were done. The Dodgers were dead. And it was Atlanta who had put us in that hole. So this is going to be a tough series. They're a really good team. Freeman and the rest of them are hitting like crazy right now. Their pitchers are pitching good. Their bullpen is stocked. I think it's going to be a great series. I really do.
I'm happy. Yay. Anyways, my dad's funny too, because he loves baseball. Like, my dad loves baseball. So, but he's not sure of the scheduling. And yesterday he was just like by himself in the dark. And I'm looking at him. I'm like, Dad, Dodgers are playing. He's like, what? Put them on. Like, immediately, it was like a light switch just turned on. He's like, put them on. Let's watch that. So that he's very entertained by that. Thank God for that. So I'm happy for that. Well, the first game is coming up very soon. So we'll have to see
first game
who comes
tomorrow.
out on top. Yeah, we'll see who comes out on top first. And, we'll keep an eye on the Houston Astros. And we'll see if they, move forward. If they don't, hey, poetic justice continues. So,
well, then we get the other team that might have cheated, the Boston Red Sox. We don't have proof, but 2 of their former players said they were running an electronic scam to steal pitches during the World Series where they beat us. So it was not as big of a scandal. They couldn't bring them to trial because they didn't have proof, but there were former staffers as well as 2 former players on the Red Sox of that year who said that they did have a little sign stealing and pitch stealing scam going using electronics. So
they just seriously want
getting to beat either one of them would be perfectly fine with me.
I mean, they still want the curse of the Bambino to be now the technical curse. We'll call it the technical curse now. So
what happened to the good old days of just corking bats and
a little grease?
Yeah.
Vaseline and everything in the hands, everything. Come on. What happened with all that? Anyways, we'll go ahead and figure that out. We'll see what happens tomorrow with the first of what, 7?
Yep, first to 7.
First to 7. We'll see what happens. We turn ourselves now over to chat with our special guest co-host here, Gary. Gary, you've been very patient here, and you've been like, dude, when are these guys going to shut up and talk about me? I mean, come on.
I prefer to. No, I like watching sports fans fight. So there's nothing. I'm fine with that. If we could get to fist fight.
Sports.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me about it. But yeah, Gary, I mean, great to have you on the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It was fun.
With us. I mean, you're a comedian, but you also you have a lot of stuff that you got going on in your life, right?
Keep him busy.
Yeah, right. I mean, you have the comedy. You also have a production company.
Yeah. I produce promos, commercials, movie trailers, stuff like that. You can see all that at sharpcut.com. But I've been doing that for like 30 years, although I'm 25 years old. But
I was about to say, you don't look a day over 20.
Yeah, I know, don't I? This is what happens when you produce a lot of video. You start to look like this. You're like
this is no
industry.
You don't get any sun. Yeah, you don't get any sun, no melanin, anything healthy. You sit behind a computer all day long, just editing and stuff. So this is what an editor looks like after a few years. So.
Yeah, tell me about it. I actually do some editing here and there as well. So, I mean, yeah, I know what you're talking about. But, I mean, how's it been going for you? I mean, the pandemic's been kind of tough for a lot of people. As far as comedy is concerned, I mean, how have you been, holding up with comedy?
Well, it's evolved. I mean, for a while I was doing Zoom comedy, what a lot of people were doing. And also, I happen to have produced 2 comedy specials that are on Amazon Prime right now. One's called Jimmy Shin's Walk of Shame, WOK, and the other is Sarah Halstead's RVs and Cats. So it's fun to produce some program that people could see online on Amazon Prime. But I've been doing live Zoom shows, and then we started doing outdoor stuff, and we did. At this church in Silver Lake, we were doing live outdoor shows, and we had Bill Burr on 4 times. We had Eliza Schlesinger, Daryl Hammond, Tom Arnold. We had great comics coming out and performing, and in the safety of an open air environment. So now I think before the Delta variant, we started doing more indoors. Now there's the Delta variant, we kind of went outdoors again. Now it's too cold for outdoors, so we're all going back indoors. It's like anything. It's like you just got to keep evolving with the times and keeping an eye. It's like the weather report. It's like it's rainy with a chance of COVID now. So it's like you got to just kind of keep an eye daily on what's going on and kind of adjust for it. Evolve.
It's almost like playing the hokey pokey. It's like you go indoors in, you go outdoors out, you go indoors in, and you
leave the jokes to the comedian, my friend.
No, but that's what it's like. That's really what it's like. It's that never before have we had such a long-term kind of disaster that we can monitor in real time, so we can see, the numbers are up here, they're down here, we can do this, we can do that, and it's very difficult for people to live a stable lifestyle because we're constantly evolving and adjusting to things like that. So. But as far as comedy, I think it's great to make people laugh during this kind of time and to have programming we can see online like yours. So that's great. And, people are looking for stuff to do. And they've probably gone through the Netflix accounts. So,
no kidding, right?
I know I've burned through mine.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, I have Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, HBO, and pretty much nothing is I'm bored.
That's amazing.
Bored.
I've seen it all.
A world of entertainment at your fingertips, and
Disney Plus, and I got Disney
right.
Plus. Yeah, I got it all, and I'm bored. I'm bored out of my mind right now. Call me crazy.
Yeah, well, you can only see the Marvels film so many times. They're
right.
great, but they get a little boring in Star Wars too.
I cry every time at the end of of Endgame. Every time when he's like, "I love you 3,000," I was like, "Dude, why did you snap the finger? Why?" Anyways, so I have a question. I have a burning question that I've always wanted to ask a comic. Have you ever told somebody, "Hey," when they ask you what do you do for a living, and you say, "Hey, I'm a comic." Do they ever say, "Really?" Say something funny.
Oh, all the
do
time.
You get that?
All the time. Yeah, all the time. And I just say, "Well, I have a 2-drink minimum, so come on back."
That's probably the best comeback, actually. Well, okay, so I have a question. When you're trying to or when you're flirting and the person asks you, "What do you do for a living?" Do you come back with some sort of a flirtatious line or something?
First of all, I like how you said the person. You're so politically correct. But here's the funny thing. Well, yeah, it could be a guy, girl, or trans. We just don't know what stage you're in.
I'm not sure. That's why I said person.
Well, here's the irony of that. Before my comedy act was scare girls away. because it was so like, it was just over the top. But like my current girlfriend came to a comedy show, and like this girl, a friend of mine, DM'd me and said, "Hey, can I get her in too?" But she accidentally typed, "Can I get her on top?" And then she typed, "We will ride together." And that was an offer I couldn't refuse. So so now I'm dating a beautiful Filipina. I call her my thriller. I call her my thriller from Manila. Nice. She calls me her 90-day fiance. So we're getting along well. We'll see how it goes.
That's awesome. I mean, how was your approach towards her? I mean,
that's the irony.
I'm wondering if the comic approach versus a normal guy's approach varies or is different.
Oh, I think it's very different. Well, first of all, the amazing thing is normally this would turn somebody off my comedy, but she came to a show, had a great sense of humor, liked my comedy, and so we went out a few days later, and then we kept going out and stuff. So just that she wasn't scared away by my comedy was a great sign for me. But it's different because normally I think you meet girls on dating sites or whatever, as opposed to it's rare that you meet somebody in person and start dating. I think it's normally like dating sites these days.
I mean, I really haven't met any female in a very long time. It's been a while, so I mean, but that's actually more towards me. Jeremy, shut up. But that's more towards me more than anything. I can see it in your face. You really want to say something, don't you? I hate you.
You have to leave the house first.
That helps.
Right,
you might have to move.
Something.
You got to move the podcast outside.
Right.
Move it to with traffic.
I know. Live from the 5 freeway. That would be an interesting podcast to have, actually. Live from the 5 freeway, just like be on the off ramp instead of selling, oranges. I'll be doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, we could work with that.
Wait, so you don't do dating sites? You're a good-looking guy. You could get girls on dating sites all the time if you wanted, right?
So, anyways, as I was saying,
there are topics that they won't talk about on this podcast.
Well, I mean, we could talk about sex and everything, but we're not going to get into that, seeing as, there hasn't been any in a while. But anyways, I'm not going to go into that. I'm like, can we change the topic instead of me, please? Jeremy, say something.
I was going to say, speak for yourself on the sex topic. I'm engaged,
Yeah, Jeremy's
really?
Jeremy's happily engaged. Yeah, he's been happily engaged with a wonderful.
Yeah, I actually have a wonderful half Filipina fiance who is just the absolute love of my life.
What a coincidence! Oh, we got some common ground there. How long have you been dating?
We've actually been together. I proposed very soon after we got together. We've been together almost 17 years.
Oh, wow, that is amazing.
I'm the only man in the world waiting for the woman to set the date.
Yeah, she's never heard that song "Put a Ring on It," I guess, before. Right?
No, I'm the one going, come on, let's do that, so. But
my parents.
It's me, I love her, neither one of us is going anywhere.
By the way, last week I celebrated my 11th wedding anniversary. But I'm divorced, so. But anyway, we don't really marry.
Did you celebrate the day of the divorce or the day of the wedding?
That was the day of the wedding.
Does your wife know you have a girlfriend? Is the question.
Yeah. No, we divorced.
Because if she doesn't, now she does.
I made a lifelong commitment and I kept it for 6 months, so that was pretty good. But look, my parents are celebrating their 57th wedding anniversary next week. You want to know what the secret is to a long and happy marriage of 57 years? Hearing loss. I'm not kidding. My dad's hearing is going in his right ear. He always sits my mom to the right side of him because you can't be annoyed by what you can't hear. So keep that in mind. That'll help you.
And he goes.
That's rather brilliant.
He goes into mode.
I've never seen the guy's never been more happy in his life, not hearing a thing.
Well, on that note, I want to go ahead and close out. I wanted to thank you, Gary, so much for being, our special guest co-host here on the Navarro-Miller Report, man. I hope to have you on here again very soon. What do you got? Are you going to be doing any stand-up anytime soon, and where?
Yeah. Let me see. I'll be at October 20th at the La Jolla Comedy Store. I'll be November 10th at the San Jose Improv, and November 21st, and I'd love you guys to come out. I am starting a brand new show in the Flappers main room. And I'm gonna get some great headliners, and you guys come out on me. And if anybody wants to look for my other future appearances, go to sharpcutcomedy.com, sharpcutcomedy.com, or Sharpcut Productions on Instagram.
I used to actually bartend at Flappers.
You're kidding?
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah,
How long ago?
Actually, this is like 3 or 4 years ago, something like that. Actually, Jeremy's fiance was the one that got me the job there.
Oh my
We have
god!
friends there as well, so no, we'll definitely be there to see you, man.
Wait, this is gonna be a big reunion. You guys have to come now.
Heck yeah.
Right? No kidding.
Yeah.
Well, and another thing too, how can people stalk you on social media?
Sharpcut Productions on Instagram, comedian Gary Robinson on Instagram, DJ Sharpcut on Instagram for my music stuff, and those are the main ones.
Awesome, awesome.
I already have a couple stalkers, so don't stalk me too hard, okay?
No worries. Well, thank you again, Gary, for being on the Navarro-Miller Report. It's
Well,
such
thank
a pleasure.
you.
Hopefully, we'll have you back on here again very, very soon. That's the news. In case you haven't heard it, thank you. I'm Dave Navarro, alongside with this gentleman right here, Mr.
Jeremy Miller, glad to be here, guys. Gary, thank you again, man.
Thank you. It was a great time. Thank you.
And we'll be sure to join us on Monday. We'll have another live podcast on Monday again. Another special guest co-host. Tune into that. Make sure you subscribe. Hit that notification button after you subscribe on YouTube to make sure you get you know when we come back. And of course, we are streaming on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other streaming sites. So make sure you follow us on there. Of course, our Instagram, everything else is on the description of this podcast. And again, we will see you all next time. Have a happy Friday, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
You have been listening to the Navarro-Miller Report.